And during the few moments that we have left, we want to have just an off-the-cuff chat. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
You know, I have to do this video because this is what we're on. I mean, it keeps reinforcing itself. This is what Christians are on. Now, let me go into more detail. First, let me use an example. You know, Aaron and I have been really hitting the relationships and dating dynamics hard in the Christian community. Hard. And, you know, our biggest resistance is coming from Christians. Not secular people, not non-believers, not atheists, agnostics, go down the list. No. It's God-fearing, Bible-reading, Bible-thumping, you know, well-to-do, trying to do well, trying to live right Christians. That's our biggest adversary. I mean, we're still getting comments from Aaron's article that he posted, was that like 2 days ago at this point? I mean, it's it's ridiculous. But here's the thing, and here's the problem, is that Aaron will sit here, and myself, because Aaron and I, see, when Aaron posts articles, because I notice a lot of people are probably wondering why when Aaron posts articles, why I don't comment a lot. It's because by the time Aaron posts an article, him and I have had so many conversations about that topic that I already know what he's going to say. Like his article on why you should wait to get hitched, or whatever the title was called. I didn't even read the article. And the reason why I didn't read the article is because Aaron and I had talked about that very topic for like 2 or 3 months before he even wrote it. So it's like, I don't have to read the article. I know exactly what he's going to say. You know? And it's funny, when I do read some of his articles, I can see where my commentary is sprinkled in there, or the commentary of some of our other peers is sprinkled in there, and it's just like, you know, he says in his own words all of the conversations that we've had, you know, prior to him writing that article. But anyway, but when Aaron writes articles and he quotes scientific facts and he looks at human behavior that is reinforced by again, scientific facts, the amount of people in denial or who want to act like that's outlying circumstances is phenomenal. I mean, we are talking about hardwired biological human nature, and we got Christians running around talking about how that's not true, that doesn't apply, or, you know, how do I say this without, because it'll come off as blasphemy to people who don't know what I'm talking about. Like, that doesn't apply, thus saith the Lord kind of, you know, behavior. Like, since I'm a Christian, that doesn't apply to me. And there are elements of life that don't apply to Christians because of how we believe and how our worldview. Therefore, our decision making is different, and we have the protection of God in our, you know, in our back pocket, air quotes, back pocket. So a lot of that stuff doesn't really apply to us as a general rule. When it comes to dating and relationships and biological human nature, God doesn't go against that. And what I mean by this specifically is, like, when Aaron talks about men are hardwired to be visual and are attracted to what they see and what is pretty to them first, that is biological human nature, and God does not turn that off just because you believe in Him. Okay, it's not like, I no longer see her beauty because I am a Christian, or I can see past her beauty because I am a Christian. It's like that's not how that works. It's, when you're a Christian, what it means is that you are more likely to be able to think past what you initially see and what's right in front of you based off of the teachings of the Bible, where it's like beauty is fleeting. So therefore, since you know that, and since that is in the book that you claim to follow, then when you see a beautiful woman, you don't make all of your decisions based off of her beauty. You may say, wow, she's very beautiful. I want to get to know her. Now, since I know her beauty will not be around our entire life, let me get to know her as a person. While usually non-believers will say, wow, she's beautiful. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be with her because she's beautiful. And it stops right there. That's the difference between non-believers mentality and believers mentality. Just using that as an example. It goes into other areas, but just using that as an example. What Christians are on is this. It's like when white people run around talking about how I don't see color. Yeah, you do. You watch media. You are influenced by other people in your circles. You hear the same comments about, the black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community, the Indian community, the Arab community. Go through all the communities. You hear the exact same propaganda, the exact same media messages, and you are affected. Now, just because you are aware of that and okay, I shouldn't judge this individual off of, my preconceived notions, doesn't mean that you are exempt from the effects of what they call what is psychological warfare and psychological mental conditioning. So, when you're a Christian running around talking about, she's beautiful, but I don't see that. I see her inner personality. It's like, oh my God, man. Or sorry, oh my gosh. I won't take the Lord's name in vain. So it's like this is what we're on. This is what we're on. This is why we have a fundamental problem in the Christian community when it comes to dating, because we got all these people running around talking about how they're not affected by human nature. They're not. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's like you're not. It's not. You're totally exempt from human nature, but it's like there's this mentality of. I don't have to take into consideration a lot of these facts and figures that are scientific because I'm a believer, but I'm still going to operate under the same umbrella. I'm not sure if I'm actually, conveying my point, but it's just you're just not exempt from it. You can say what you want to say, you're not exempt from it. Like when it comes to women will run around, Christian women will run around talking about, money doesn't matter, and I should go around, I should date a guy who's after the Lord, and this, that, and the third. But at the same time, they won't date a guy without a job. He has to have on the latest clothes and fashion. He has to look a certain way. And it's just like, yeah. You say all of this stuff, but you still follow your biological imperative to be with a guy who can provide and protect, and be with a guy who, is masculine, and it's just like you are not exempt. You are not exempt. It doesn't matter how much Jesus you have in your life. You are not exempt from the way that God has hardwired you. I'm sorry. Now, yes, since you are a believer, there are certain things that you should be able to overcome as a as long-term thinking is concerned. Meaning, yes, okay, you want to be with a guy who loves the Lord and blah, 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 blah. But you should still go after a guy with a job. You should still go after a guy who has work ethic. You should still go after a guy who, this, that, and the third. And women running around acting like that they don't, operate on that because, they read Proverbs doesn't mean that that's not what they should be doing. And, when the world says, ladies, get a guy with a job, they can't be like, oh, well, I'm going to get a guy who has Jesus versus a job, because the world says get a job and the Bible says get a guy who has Jesus. So I'm just going to go off of that. But then when you actually go out and look for men, it's always, well, you don't have this and you don't have that, which is everything predicated on what kind of job he has. You know, and it goes back into my last video, like double-mindedness, and you say one thing but you do another. It's like, see, like Christian, like this is what Christians are on. This is what Christians are on. It's like we can't, we cannot operate on under these, you know, under this mentality. It's just, it's not sustainable. It's called it. I can't say it's going to cause problems or it's causing problems. We are so far down the line that we have to, you know, stop and turn back around. And that's what Aaron and myself are trying to do. But the resistance that we're getting is off the chain. I mean, it is off the chain. I mean, we got the baby boomers running around, you know, still preaching the same stuff that got us into this. You know, wait till you're 30 to do this. Wait till you're 30 to do that. Wait till you're more mature. Wait till this. It's just like you're talking to adults. Like, they're talking to people who are old enough to drink, you know, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, we're still on this. You know, it's like you're blending what the world says, which is wait until you're 30, wait until you have your life together, don't be mature yet, wait, you have time, stay young as long as you possibly can, and, you know, and then try to, you know, cram what should be 10 or 15 years worth of stuff into 5 years. And it's just like, oh my goodness, here we go again. You know, and then it's just like, okay, but then these same people will turn right around and talk about how they want grandchildren and what it was taking us so long and we have to grow up sometime. And it's like, you can't sit here and tell people, since they're, you know, children, stay young as long as possible. You'll be an adult soon enough. Don't worry about it. You know, when you're hearing that stuff since elementary school, and then by the time you get to like your 20s, you're still hearing the same thing, like don't grow up too early, don't get into serious relationships, just, you know, either there's a split in the Christian community where it's like, date around, don't lock yourself down, but then date with a purpose and date with the intention of getting married. But then when you talk about getting married, then it's one of the things, well, are you ready? Are you sure that you're ready? How much money do you have saved up? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm not even going to my whole economics route, but it's so hard to try to sit here and operate with these, you know, conflicting mentalities, you know? And it's frustrating because you're trying to solve a problem that people will not change their mentality on, which is really where the problem has to be solved. We have to change our mentality, and it's not happening, you know. And then we got, you know, young Christians, and I'm using young Christians as Christians in the early 20s, running around talking about how all of these toxic ideals are perfectly acceptable. You know, I mean, Aaron got into a argument with one of our fellow Christian brethren about because he doesn't have a girlfriend. He's a guy. He doesn't have a girlfriend, and he was talking about how the Lord will provide him a girlfriend, but he's not doing anything to attract the attention of a female. And him and Aaron went round and round and round and round and round and round and round about it. I'm getting this from third-hand information, so I mean, I wasn't there for this particular argument, but I have heard them talk on this subject before, so I already know what was said, and I know Aaron well enough, so I already know what Aaron came to the table with, and I already know what this other guy came to the table with, and I know why they disagree. But, you know, again, it's you know, you have to operate in reality. You know, you just have to. You can't run around, you know, thinking that because you believe in the Lord that certain rules of society don't apply to you. You know, it goes back to you have to live in the world, but you don't have to be of the world. And Christians are doing this thing where it's like, okay, we understand that, but while we're living in the world, we also want to be of the world, but we want to be of the world enough to where we're not, you know, made fun of, but we want to operate in our own little circles like we're not of the world, but we still want to bring the things from the world into the world. Or we want to bring the things of the world into our inner circles world, while we operate under the mentality of those things don't apply to us, and then we want to wonder why problems are happening. And it's like, okay, so let me get this right. You say that you don't want to be a part of the world because that's what the Bible tells you. Yes, okay, but you're still going to take the things from the world because you have to be realistic. Yes, okay, but you're taking things that the world says that are directly contradictory to what it is that you say that you follow, and then wonder why there's problems. No, impossible. That is exactly what you're doing. No, it's not. Okay, then explain it. Well, it's hard to explain. Yeah, it's hard to explain because it's contradictory. You know, it's like, because I got into an argument with this one chick who Aaron doesn't know her. I met her through another group of circles that I kind of run with, and she wanted to sit here and talk about how what was it? Because I want to use somewhat of a direct quote. We were talking about how well, I got to kind of give a little bit of backstory to some degree. She was talking to this guy who she met in college, and she's like, yeah, we're kind of talking, we're kind of doing this, we're kind of doing that, but she's like, I'm not taking the relationship seriously, and I think he is, and I'm not sure how I want to go about this, and I really don't want to lead him on, but at the same time, like, I kind of do want to be with somebody, I don't want to be with somebody, she had made a decision, so I mean that's fine, everybody does it. But she was operating under this guise of she couldn't understand why he was behaving the way that he was behaving. And I'm like, well, if you're not serious about the relationship, but this guy's running around talking about how, he wants to do this, he wants to do that, and maybe take the relationship more seriously, and you're over here like, I'm just having fun because I'm 24, and that's what I should be doing right now is having fun, which she should, but as Aaron would say, you should actually be settling down trying to find a husband. Let me describe this guy. He's Indian. He has I'm pretty sure he just got his doctorates, and he just got like a job, but he's moving around. And this is probably about a year ago that all this was taking place. I'm not really sure where all that's been, or if they're even still talking. But the point, the mentality I'm trying to convey is that you can't sit here and say, okay, why am I having relationship issues when I'm a Christian, because I'm supposed to trust in the Lord and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, but you're messing around with a guy who you don't want to be with long term, and you're taking the world's mentality of you're 24, 25, you should be playing around, you should be dating around, you should be living the Sex and the City lifestyle, and this, that, and the other. But then you want to wonder, well, why can't you find a good guy, or why do this certain demographic of men only talk to you and not this demographic, and why are you constantly being hit on but you can't find a guy, even though the guys who hit on you are the ones you should be giving a chance, versus messing around with these guys over here. And it's just like, see, it's that you wonder why you believe in the Lord and things aren't working out, but at the same time you aren't letting go of the world's mentality that directly contradicts what God has to say, and you wonder why there's problems. And it's like, they're like, and this is what the Christian community is on. This is what we're on, and we're wondering, why why churches now have these huge age gaps. It's like, I look at churches, it's like you have elderly people in their 50s, people in their 30s going into their 40s, people in their 20s going into 30s, and then you have teenagers coming into 20s. And like, there's like always these 8 to 10 year, in some cases 15-year age gaps. And it's just like, y'all don't think that we can continue to operate on this front, do you? I mean, y'all don't think that this is actually sustainable? It's like we have these huge age gaps, and the thing is like, as you go down the line, the age gaps gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, it's almost at a point to where, it's like, not only are the age gaps, well, I should say, these last 2 generations, the age gaps gotten smaller, but the maturity level has gotten bigger. It's like, what was once the average intelligence and maturity level of a 25-year-old has now been pushed out to like 29 or 30, and then the 20-year-olds are still acting like they're 15. And it's just like, okay, while they're only separated by about 4 to 7 years, the mental gap is like 15. And it's just like, oh my goodness, this is what we're on. This is what we're on. And when we sit here and wonder why there's so many sinners around and why there's so many, it's like we're practicing double-mindedness, and it's like it can't happen. You can't, you can't, simultaneously do two things that are opposed to each other and then be taken back and shocked and baffled as to why things aren't working out. But again, like I always tell Aaron, this is why we made a website, because this is what people are on right now, and no one's calling it out because no one wants to hurt anybody's feelings. As we saw in Aaron's article about what was it? Not why you should get hitched or problem in the Christian dating world. But his last article where someone made the comment of, like, let's not attribute blame. It's like, and let's start the cycle all over again. It's just like, if we don't acknowledge the problem and who started it and what they were on, then we're going to keep repeating this problem. And again, these are problems that Aaron and I saw back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But, we went along with it because we were only like, 13, 14 years old, so we didn't know any better. We just went, oh, okay, we're Christians. We're not supposed to be like everybody else. So, we'll throw on the promise ring and swear not to have sex until we're married, and we'll we'll wear the What Would Jesus Do bracelets, and we'll, sing hymns to praise his name, and we'll do all this other stuff. But then, we had the typical middle school, high school temptations, and yeah, it's very easy to go through that and not be affected when you're operating under a system that will get you married by 18, 19, 20 years old. Maybe 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 at the latest. 24, 25 at the latest. And you get married between 18 and 22. It is very easy to operate on resisting temptation at that level. You know what I'm saying? But when you have a system, but when you are on this operating system of, act like a child until you're 30, well, see, you just extended your temptation from, 5 or 6 years to 15 to 20. And as I said in my other video, temptation is very easy to fight against when it's not long and consistent and persistent and everyone else is doing it, because you will fall into that trap. Like what was the old saying is like, not you're the product of your the people you hang around, but you're a product of your environment. Yes, It's like if your environment is constant sexual temptation, constant, God doesn't exist, constant, that was a coincidence, constant just, all sorts of chaos, then that becomes normal to you. And then that's how you start operating. It's just like, oh, there are no rules. I can do what I want, etc. and so forth. And the Christian community is trying to do that. It's like we're trying to take the chaos of the world and attribute it to our way of living and our way of life when the Bible says don't do that. But again, people don't want to hurt people's feelings. People don't want to seem like the outcast. People don't want to be ostracized, even though the Bible says that, you will be ostracized for your beliefs. It's just like, oh my goodness, man. See, and we got, again, Christian women running around talking about they need to find Jesus when they're 24, 25, 26 years old. We got Christian men running around talking about the Lord will provide me a woman without me doing anything, so I'm going to go do missions when they're 29, 30 years old, 31. And it's just like, guys, really? It's just like, in the Bible, so-and-so and so-and-so waited for so-and-so and so-and-so. And it's just like, okay, let's go into actual historical facts and documentations, and let's look at the environment which they were in. It's like, oh, now that we've done research on it, so-and-so and so-and-so met, that woman when he was 15 years old, and he worked, for her dad, or, did whatever. I'm just kind of mixing a little bit of stories here, like with Jacob and Rachel and some other situations. But it's like, oh, so he saw her at 14 and they were married at 16. It's like, yeah, he didn't meet her at 18 and they got married at 30. It's like, what are you on right now? Like, you have to know what you're talking about. And then this goes into other stuff that I don't want to get into because this video has been long enough. I didn't even mean to go this long, but this just further goes into, you know, we half know what we're talking about, and even though we half know what we're talking about, we're not even using half of what it is that we know that we're talking about. You know? So it's like we're operating on less than a quarter of what it is that we should be doing and participating in. But as I always say, this is why I made a website. Anyway, that's my video. John from the Gen XY.